what's up?
Welcome to the show,
Yeah.
Pinnacle.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, 25.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show,
Yeah.
nigga. Welcome to the show.
Come on.
Welcome to the show, Trinidad.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, 301.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, Bell Haven.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show,
Come on,
nigga. Welcome
come
to
on,
the show.
come on.
Welcome to the show, Energy.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, Go Go.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, Big L.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, nigga.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Come on.
Welcome to the show, 58.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, Donnell.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, my man, bro.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, nigga. Welcome to the show.
Come on.
Welcome to the show, Big L.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, Big Joe.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, Holly Honey.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, honey. Welcome to the
Come
show.
on.
Welcome to the show, Big Ed.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show,
Hello,
Gina.
baby. What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, Nina.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, honey. Welcome to the show.
Come on.
Welcome to the show, Mr. Cab.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, my man, Mike.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, my
Yeah.
man, Slow.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, nigga. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the show, my nigga Quincy.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, let's go.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, S3.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, Silky. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Sweet Lisa.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, Miss Tina.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, 58.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, Donnell. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the show, Highway.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, Big Jack.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show, 28.
What's up, what's up?
Welcome to the show. Hey, 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 hey. Welcome to the show, Londonwood.
Good evening. Can you all hear me? Okay, so I am waiting for my co-host to show. So I'm going to go ahead and welcome you all, and I'm going to get some administrative things out of the way. So let's go ahead and post. Copyright claims, all that good stuff. Okay, so there is the U.S. copyright disclaimer as along with YouTube's copyright policy. Let me go ahead and get this out of the way. So here's our trigger warning. I am considering this an academic environment in that there is some learning that's taking place or going on over here. So with that being said, I want to welcome my co-host to the show, the one and only chat activist, Miss Josephine. So everybody, let's welcome my co-host to the show since she missed the intro. Joe, how you doing? What's going on?
Nothing much. You know, I just got off, so I was running.
Of
I hear
course, of
echo.
course. You hear echo with me?
No, with me. Are you
Oh,
signed in 2 places?
no, I shouldn't be.
All right. Hi, QT. Hi, Alan.
You still hearing echo?
Let me check. No, I don't hear it now.
Oh, okay. Okay, so hopefully for those who were in the chat with us this evening, you saw your name in the welcome. It took me a very long time to remember everybody in the sector and people that I deal with and make sure that those that I don't are not listed. I'm petty like that. So what I want to do is, first of all, Joe, how was your day? Let me ask you, how was your day? I'm being rude. Where are my manners?
Oh, man, it was long. I'm just so glad to be off. I got one more day and I'm free. So, yes, it was one of those days. I was
Okay.
dealing with a person that was operating under stupidity today.
Not in the realm, not on the axis of evil.
Oh, yes. So,
Okay. Well, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to, hey, keeping it plain. How are you? Let's see. Let me stop before I do something. Before I have to escort myself to the axis of evil. Okay. So, just a little bit of a recap from last Saturday's show, Evening Week in College. So, we were talking about Sapola's five basic laws of human stupidity. And what's interesting about this is that this is something that he felt was like the biggest danger or threat to society was this idea of stupidity. So I'm going to post the five laws again. Josephine, would you be so kind as to go over those for me?
All right. The five basic laws of human stupidity is everyone always and inevitably underestimate the number of stupid people in circulation. The probability that a person is stupid is independent of any other characteristics of that person. A stupid person is a person who caused loss to another person or group of people when he or she does not benefit and may even suffer losses. Non stupid people always underestimate the destructive power of stupid individuals. A stupid person is the most dangerous type of person. And that's the
Okay.
one that I fear the most.
The law number five.
Yeah, that's the one where you just kind of have to say, you know what, I'm just not dealing with this person. And you have to get away from like that person altogether. You just can't, there's no coming back from this person.
Okay, well, I definitely understand that. Now, could you also remind us of some of the things that you brought to the conversation per your own research?
All right, give me a moment. Let me go there.
Just as a reminder, as I said, we're giving just a quick recap and then we'll delve into discussion. And for those who'd like to come up and chat with us a little bit, then we will do that. If not, this will be a short show.
Yes. Repeated irrationality, arrogance, gullibility, blind argument, sticking to something detrimental, and talking too much. So those were the five. Well, the actually I think it was like six that I went over.
Okay,
So
so we would add those to the I guess this profile that we're creating, if you will, using Sapola's five basic laws of human stupidity. Now, there were some other things that Joe and I talked about on the phone afterwards where I felt like, and she also agreed, that there's a difference between calling someone stupid and operating in this realm of stupidity. So, Joe, I realize that you have worked all day today, so I'm so grateful that you're here. And I feel like I am putting your brain or your head in a vice and, cranking it. But we are having what I call rigorous academic discussion about some very serious things that are funny, and laughing about things is one of the coping mechanisms that we have when we start talking about things that are also very terrible or horrible in nature. So I don't feel bad about laughing at all, and I'm not going to apologize for it. Again,
uh,
RNT and edutainment, thank you for showing up. So you opened up by talking about someone from work who was operating in this realm of stupidity. You mind giving us just a little bit without sharing any names, what happened and where this person kind of fit in on this as well as on the axis?
well, this person basically for let me check. Let me see. So the probability that a person is stupid is independent of any characteristic. So I believe that this person is a good person. Um, I think that they're very highly capable of doing what they need to do. However, my biggest thing is when someone plays with your intelligence, right? You tell them, okay, this is what I need from you. This is what I want to see. And then they tell you everything that you don't that you basically want to hear basically everything, just jumping around in circles and making me do more work than I have to. So if I'm telling you, okay, show me what you've done so far, show me the information so that I can, document this for you. You're making up excuses, you're talking in circles, you're blaming other people, you're sending me misinformation. And just so that I could tell you at the end of the day, all of that is wrong. So just being very destructive, not going along with the program or trying to cut corners. But what I feel like when a person plays with my intelligence, it just makes me kind of give up on them because I don't have time to sit around trying to figure out. I don't have time to keep telling that person the truth all the time. Okay, no, that's not correct. This is correct. This, you know what I mean? You're like fighting that person, you know. So once you get the person to buy into what you're saying, then they come up with something else and then you convince them, okay, that's not right. Let's do it. You know what I mean? So I have those kind of issues, especially when you in a position of management, because
Mhm.
they see you as an authority too. So they feel like they have to be dishonest to you or very disruptive to the environment that you're in. But at
Okay,
the end of yeah.
so let me ask you this, if you don't mind me interjecting. So, do you think that because this came up Saturday when we were talking about this, do you think that because you're in a position of management, that some people that you are managing feel like they need to try to see exactly how much you know, although you've already said, here's the policies, here's the procedures, here is what, will keep us in compliance, this type of thing, and then they still do it? Is that what makes you start to think, based now that you've been exposed to these five basic laws of human stupidity, that they fit into one of these categories?
Yes. So it doesn't, benefit me or them as a whole for them to act in the way that they're acting. At the end of the day, the policy is going to be the same. You still got to comply, but it doesn't benefit them at all. It doesn't, they don't get paid more. They don't move up. It's not beneficial to them. It's just to them, it's just a paycheck. They're just showing up. So that's kind of hard because for me, I always make this comment is that they're basically going to walk themselves out the door behaving that way. Because what I typically don't do is I don't continually engage in the realm of stupidity with that person. I just kind of say, okay, all right, well, let me just, okay, so this is the way the conversation went. Let me go ahead and document this and let's keep it moving. So
Okay. Well, an example I'd like to offer or submit would be at one of the institutions where I worked, and enrollment, management, things of those natures. Those are all very, very important because, of course, without the students, then no institution can thrive. I don't care what type of endowment you have, etc. You can't, because that's the primary reason why we're there, is because we have students. So there are times where people from the senior administration will come down and they'll ask us, very simple question. Now, I understand the business of school. In essence, when I started teaching as a graduate student, former professors told me, he says, Nikki, someone has to pass the class. He said, now that's all I'm going to tell you. Here's the book. You go in there and deal with it. And I had to think about that, as I probably had the one of the worst days ever, teaching. Because again, when I went in there, I didn't know what I was doing, so I taught like I was taught. And whenever I had given a quiz or something like that, and that's when it resonated with me that if everybody failed my class, it's not the students, it is me. So I was being stupid in that moment, because your natural instinct, or I was operating in the realm of stupidity, because I thought that from a teacher's perspective, that my teachers were quizzing me to try to set me up to fail me. So I thought that, my job was to make these tests so hard that, oh, they're not going to be able to pass this. But the irony of that, as I could see how then on a professional level, I was operating in the realm of stupidity, that you want to test the students and put them in a situation to where they can meet whatever expectation that you have. So you have to adequately prepare them to be able to do this. Because when you don't, and you have a large failure rate, meaning at the end of the semester you have all of these F's or D's, depending on what the cutoff rate was for them to pass the course, that you're in essence writing yourself out of a job.
And that's how my job is too, because we have to have a certain amount of outcomes. And basically without success, large number of success, like I have to have like a threshold, like 75% or 51% of people actually following the policy, being compliant and all those different things, it can have a great impact on me. So there's the goal is to kind of get them to buy into what you're saying, and get them to understand that this is not just a job to you. This is more than this. There's such thing as advancement. There's a such thing as growth. But when you have a person who buys into stupidity and they don't care one way or another, the goal is, well, how do you deal with that person? Well, for me, I have to look at my numbers. I have to say, okay, I have a high number of successes, and then this is just, a couple of people are just straggling along. So I always try to, focus on those that I can actually, move them up a bit versus the ones that I can't, because there's nothing I really can do when you have somebody operating under the realm of stupidity and feels like, okay, you know, I'm going to drag this team down. I'm not going to participate in anything. I'm just going to show up when I get ready. Whenever we have group activities, I'm just not going to be involved. And so the whole goal is not to get the other people to buy into the destructive behavior of that person. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think this is a perfect time to segue into the chart that, again, I apologize. Most of you all couldn't see it very well. So I made an overlay for it. So it just take up the entire screen. So we can go back through these categories. Now, I don't know how many of you all remember President George W. Bush and his infamous speech of the axis of evil. I can't. Okay, so the axis of evil speech, you can actually go online and look that up and listen to it. Hey, living life to the fullest. Hey, Shakim, welcome. So based on Sapolo's, laws of human stupidity, he says that that in humanity, or he divides humanity into four main categories: the intelligent, the bandit, the helpless, and the stupid. All are defined on a basis of a win-lose concept. So the last time that we met, I asked, like, where do you fall in this category, or in this quadrant here? So, you know, we talked about how the helpless would be those people who always do things. Most of the time, the helpless is accompanied by a bandit, or stupid, or probably be accompanied by the bandit, in this chart here. But going back to the helpless, these are the people who do stuff because they believe that there's some sort of greater good, and that their reward will come, I don't know, for some people in the afterlife. So everything that they do it for other people, and is at a detriment to themselves. So they always lose in this situation. But I don't know. I guess their sense of winning is intrinsic, meaning they feel good on the inside. But we call those people the helpless.
So I have a question. So
Sure.
let's take this chart and apply it to the sector. Is there somebody within the sector that you can actually use an example that is a helpless person operating under that realm of stupidity?
There are quite a few, but okay. So I'm laughing to myself because I really don't want to say, and I really love how Joe just kind of put me on the spot. And so for every action, there's an opposite but equal reaction. So I will, So if we look at if we look at people in the sector as dynamic duos, so I don't know if I'm going in and
Right.
out or not, but I'm gonna keep talking. If we look at the sector in pairs or dynamic duos, as I said earlier, most of the time, if you find someone helpless, there's someone beside them or along with them that kind of controls them or whatever. So it's like a host and a parasite. So if I'm looking at the helpless and a bandit, I think probably the first two people who come to mind would be Stargate and Binary Code. Binary Code would be the bandit, and Stargate would be the person that I would view. Actually, she wouldn't be helpless. I would just put her down here as stupid. However, if I look at this in a larger context, since I put up there the axis of evil, and we know that George W. Bush is the one who said that, I would probably say look at him as the stupid, and maybe Dick Cheney as the person who is the bandit. So I'm not really sure. I like to throw that out to the audience to see what they think about that.
Well, and that for me that's an easy one. Rev G is the helpless one, and AAS is the bandit. So, so I'm just saying, as it applies to the sector as a whole, that um, Rev G comes off as a starving artist. Their contributions, even if they're not thriving at all, they contribute, which he does a lot of that. He does a lot of contributing, while AAS, she's not useful to the large group, but smart enough to survive and profit on their own. So she basically, if you look at her pattern of behavior under an academic standpoint, paying people, sending information to people to keep things going, that would be an example of a person that's operating under a bandit. And like you said, they come in pairs. So the helpless and the bandit are working together amongst this group. So that's just my educational analysis of what's going on in this sector. Now, I got one question because this is important for me. Where does Al fit on this chart?
Okay, so Living Life posts something that came up on Saturday. So we're not calling someone stupid. What we're saying is somebody can fit in a category to where their actions don't match up with their outcomes. So that can be looked at as wasted energy. For those who are always self-sacrificing but don't get anything from it, you know, they have a section in humanity, etc. So this is how he's looking at it.
Right. He's
Outcomes of the bandit.
right.
Really? You think so? That's interesting. But wait a minute. So let me go back to living life really quickly. Hi, HM Blue Fire up in the house. I appreciate that. That support. The most noble of all fraternal organizations. So I have to say that about a Sigma man. So at any rate, so going back to living life to the fullest. So I removed the banner at the bottom to show you the name of the person. So this is Carlo Cipolla, and he was a professor at UC Berkeley, and he came up with this interesting these five laws of human stupidity, because he saw stupidity as the most detrimental thing to humanity. This state, people who are in it, people who thrive in it, people who visit, this, that, and the third. So yes, well, it's not really a study. It's like a theory. He just kind of threw it out there as he's trying to figure out, um, how this actually works and why people do the things that they're doing. So this chart that you see up now is basically the four main categories that he puts, people who are part of, humanity into these four main categories. So we're talking about at this point how we are applying these people to people in the sector. Now, living life to the fullest. If you want the article, or the reading, it's manageable. I can email it to you, no problem. I've already sent it to YM, and I also sent it to Carrie Ann so they can read it. So it's not about this is why you need to call somebody stupid. It's about trying to understand behaviors and adding language to it, as opposed to just being completely dismissive about an individual altogether. So one of the other questions that was asked, Joe, if you can recall, somebody said it might have been Carrie Ann, or maybe it wasn't, that said, is this like a permanent status? Are people relegated to these for the rest of their lives? Absolutely not. But sometimes you have to have some sort of language to sit down and explain to people why things keep happening, or why what it is that you're doing is not going to give you what you think it's going to give you. It's going to give you something else. So again, this is another way of giving us language to, kind of move us beyond saying that, oh, you're just stupid. Now, some people are, and I agree
But
with
but but for me, what I'm reading about is how do you handle these kind of behaviors as a person when you are dealing with a person that is a bandit. So I remember, um in my mind, every person I've ever thought of as a bandit, I really did not want to get close to that person. Um I was smart enough to realize that person is operating under a bandit and targets certain people that are helpless, or the intelligent or the stupid. They target those kind of people, and so when they feel that you're not that person, they come up with other ways. But a bandit doesn't have anything to lose or gain from the situation that they put themselves in. So I think that it's more so, like, for me, it's the behavior. Like, are you behaving stupidly? Are you doing stupid things? Are you purposely antagonizing people? And it's not good to walk, you if you walk up to a person who's operating on stupidity and call them stupid, actually you lost, because you're actually gaining an enemy. It is not meant for you to walk up to somebody and say, you know what, you're just stupid. No, what you do is you recognize the behavior and then you move accordingly. If you're dealing with somebody that's behaving in a stupid way, you don't have to engage them, right?
right, because we talk about, preservation of your peace, setting up boundaries,
Right,
etc. So remind me to go back to this, to Al, because I have something to add to
right.
that, and I think that was a really right. Are you
Yeah, I'm
finished?
finished.
Oh, okay, okay. I didn't want to cut you off, but to use your saying, but I did. So HM, uh, what you gonna do about it? Said that Al comes under the bandit category. Now, the example that I gave before would be like George Bush and Dick Cheney, and how they operate, in this realm here. So if Al is the bandit, then who are the stupid, or who are the helpless
See,
in this paradigm? I'm waiting to see if anybody will put it in the chat.
well, for me, I don't see Al as the bandit. Um,
Oh, he's
you
definitely a
think
bandit.
so? Well, could he be?
Oh,
Could he be more than one though? One thing? So
No,
you think that he falls
no.
under that one? Okay, now tell me why.
Well, to the larger, listen, he's not useful to the larger group,
Uh-huh.
but smart enough to survive and profit on his
And,
own.
and his profit is attention.
Right. So, which one of these categories does he fit in? Does anybody want to take an educated guess?
You have to go back to the other screen if you want to see
You
which
got to have a
category.
team. No,
Yeah, you
he's got to have,
gotta you gotta
right.
have a team.
Yeah, he's got to have something. Like it's either something that is helpless or something that fits under the stupid.
What about the sector as a whole?
Well, that's the
Okay,
answer. That's the
right.
answer. That's the
The-
answer. The answer is the sector, and the sector fits under the helpless
right,
because YouTube says that in order to have a show, well, it doesn't say that, but the way it operates, the way the platform operates is that someone goes live, then there should be an audience, or you should have something to to share or to give. And if you're not monetized, then you're not necessarily going to get something back from it. So YouTube could be abandoned as well. Um, but in the context of talking about, Al as a bandit, according to what you all deduced him to be, the sector is functioning in a way to where you've got to get watch hours, you've got to get viewers, things of that nature. And whenever Al comes in the chat and you let him up on your platform, you've got at least a good 30 minutes to an hour to kill, because the Al show is exactly that. And I argue that the reason why he says his name is the Al show is because everything's about him once he comes up on your platform. Everything is about him in some form of fashion. So then the sector becomes the helpless, because giving a show and providing a place for people to chat and this, that, and the third is a good thing. But this bandit coming up onto your platform then means that you don't gain anything from it, because what happens? People either tune out, they start having other conversations, and you risk the possibility of them not coming back to your to your channel. Let's see.
yeah,
You
that's
want to
correct.
add anything to that?
Well, that's correct because the reason why I feel that you're correct now that I think about it is because if you go to his channel, he doesn't have that much viewership as he would going to a channel that has a lot more people engaged, because he cannot get that engagement. So he does operate as a bandit going from platform to platform. But a lot of the times when he does get on the platform, he starts talking as if he is into the conversation. Then he takes the conversation somewhere else, as if he has something in mind he was going to say, as long as he can get up there and say what he has to say. So,
Okay, well, speaking of saying what you have to say, I want to take a pause for the cause, because Josephine and I kind of got word that somebody was in their feelings because we talked about some of the reasons when we were talking about preserving our peace and establishing boundaries and things of that nature. We talked about reasons why we block people personally, and we talked about why some people as content creators block people from their chats when you want the traffic and things of that nature. So, what I would like to do is we talked to Brother Ray Triggs spiritually and using mental telepathy. And he wants to come and play with us. He wants to be a part of the chat and what have you, because he knows that eventually this will be a huge platform. My channel is just gonna blow up. Joe is helping me blow up and all that other good stuff. So I told him, if you want to come and present yourself to the chat and see if they will mercifully allow you to participate, this, that, and the third. Then you do so. And I said, well, you got about a minute and a half of our time, and to kind of sell yourself. So what I decided to do was I said, okay, again, using mental telepathy. So with that being said, here is what he came up with.
Praise the Lord, Jesus, in the name of the Lord. Amen. I'm going to sing Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound. Amazing Grace. I want people to sing with me too. Amazing Grace. How sweet the sound. You make me. Oh, man, sing God, how sweet the sound.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you.
Uh, okay.
So that was
So that was Brother Triggs.
yeah, brother
And
Triggs.
I'm gonna so Josephine, after that, uh I don't know, rendition of some version of Amazing Something. Um does that get did he do enough to get off of your block list?
Man, listen, Ray Triggs, let me tell you, he sung that in the best voice that he knew how, right? Because it sounded just like the whining he was doing when he went on his platform. So bravo to him, bravo to him. He's definitely is going to be remembered. Next time we might have to have his funeral, but other than that, he's gotten the attention that he really, really, really wanted.
Okay, so if we could, can we please just give him a round of applause? If you all could just, put the clapping hand emojis in the chat for Ray Triggs, I would appreciate it, because I really, the God in me is uneasy with him feeling like he's been left out.
Yes.
Okay, I'm waiting to see the hands. Or would y'all like to hear it again?
I don't think they want to hear it again. Ray Triggs,
Okay.
I only can stomach a little bit of Ray Triggs. Now
Okay.
he might
Well,
give us a eulogy, um, or something like that at some point. But yeah. Uh
I don't think. Wait a minute. Let me go ahead and put this up again. Okay. So Ray Triggs, if you are triggered, it is inadvertent. This is the time for you to close your eyes, plug your ears, walk away, or what have you. And really, you should have done it about maybe 2, 3 minutes ago, but you were in the middle of your praise and worship, and we allowed you to have that. So thank you very much. Okay. So, Josephine, would you drop the link in the chat to see if anybody wants to come up and add to the conversation, talk to a little bit about, some of the differences. Now, obviously, this is like a part two of a discussion that was started, that began on this past Saturday. Now, moving forward, I think I'm going to Joe and I've had so many conversations as we try to understand some of the behavior in the sector that has definitely been to the detriment of those of us who are intelligent most of the time and might be bandits some of the time, and helpless other points, in the sector. Because I think I felt all these when my Cowboys lost. So I wanted to go ahead and just get that out there. My Cowboys lost, um, but I think the Bears lost too. So Joe and
You
I are
know
zero.
what? So when we play against each other, then we're gonna have a ceremony.
What kind of ceremony?
Um, well, at some point we both probably gonna end up on the couch. So we'll just celebrate, have some chips.
Listen, the devil is a lie. The Cowboys will, they will go to the Super Bowl in the 2020s. Now, I cannot say that about, I can't say that about, I might be operating in human stupidity by putting that out there, but that's okay. I'll take it. Um, and we can make a friendly wager offline, something to that effect. Or
Yeah.
we can sit here and we can listen to Ray Triggs sing his rendition of Amazing Grace for quite some time. I don't know, listen to it for an hour. I don't know. But at any rate, I'm not really sure if people are here and we're not here on Saturday. So you're kind of lost in the conversation. I would like to say, if we, go back and watch the video on last Saturday. Um, Joe and I just really felt that based on the questions, especially the ones that were coming from Carrie Ann, that we wanted to delve into this just a little bit more so that people can be very, very clear. We're not saying that it is okay. And I don't think Sapola was saying that you should call people stupid. He was writing this essay to try to come to some sort of an understanding, because when you have these existential moments in your life, you start thinking, okay, what is my purpose? What or why am I always in these circles of these types of people who behave in this manner that either may frustrate me so or has me dumbfounded, etc. Or if you're looking at this in a professional context, why is it that, I can't make a smart hire? Am I hiring people who fit in some of these categories who don't believe that, as far as working for the company, that it's going to be a win-win for you, or do I have people that am I hiring people who are just coming here to take away and they don't add any value? Do I need to start cutting these people off? Again, this is just another way to provide you some sort of language to make sense of what's going on around you as you are interacting with other people. And mind you, let me remind you that I said, I don't know if it was the first night. I think it was the first night that Joe and I went live. That what I want to do with this channel is to provide people with, you know, different ways of seeing human behavior and giving them a name and giving them a language. Because once you add a name to something, then you can control and manipulate it in a way to where, again, if you need to establish a boundary, you say, hey, this is disturbing my peace for sure. I can't deal. I have to disengage with you, etc., and leave it that way.
Okay. So
Or go
so
ahead.
not to cut you off, but of course I did. I want to change it to a little bit different story. I want to ask, why are we entertained by stupidity? Because we're very heavily entertained by it. You know that, right? We are very entertained by bandits when it's not towards us. We're very entertained by the helpless when it's not towards us, especially when the helpless fumbles, right? So in this sector, I know there's a lot of people are very highly entertained by stupidity.
Okay.
So
Welcome, Alan Logic. Thanks for coming up and spend a little bit of time with us.
Hey guys.
Again,
Hey.
we do realize we are operating under our contracts as part of the DBA,
Right
so
on.
we are
Hell
in
yeah.
compliance.
Yeah. Hell yeah. You supposed to. You supposed to. That's what the intelligent do. Right. Right on. You know what can happen if you don't do that. For sure.
Absolutely. So, what do you want to add to this discourse on human stupidity?
Oh man, I wanted to get into why I felt like Al Lanier was an actual bandit. I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to
Okay.
expound on it. Look, Al Lanier is working off of a non-black. He lives life as a non-black person. So basically, the phenomenon that I got to witness, that I got to see, was him being able to come on and infiltrate black people's panels, and it was okay. Now I'm going to give you some. I'm going to give you guys some reference points to that. I'm going to talk about black people just in general, as far as their open armedness to every other group of people. And he was allowed to come on and wax poetic and not, and I mean, say a whole lot about nothing at all. Every single
Hmm.
time, nothing at fucking all. Excuse me. I can't even talk like that.
I agree.
He was allowed to wax poetic about nothing for long periods of time on Profest. Actually, Star is an actual black person. Binary is an actual black person, though he is a um, you know, he's a lot of things. But he was allowed to get up on those panels and do whatever he wanted to do, man. And I think that the fact that he was playing from that position alone makes that guy a bandit. The fact that he could come over to a group of people that have been uh, relegated to where we are in society. I'm talking about as far as mistreatment and abuse is concerned, that he would decide to bring his so-called talents over here. That makes it. I think that makes him a bandit. I think that alone, regardless of what he said, makes him a bandit because he knew the position from which he was playing. That's all I wanted to say.
Okay. So, how is that behavior detrimental?
It's detrimental because it's taking advantage of a group of people that don't know they're being taken advantage of, and that happens so many times in black life. It's happened in my life and things like that, where you've got people that are not in the same position as we are, still finding it, you know, fun. I guess that's the only thing I can say is it had to be fun for him to come over here and do the things that he did. That's all I can kind of think of. And when you want to have fun with people that are in a downtrodden position, I mean, it to me, it's kind of akin to going out and poking fun at the homeless and stuff like that. It just feels like that to me, and I could be wrong.
Okay. So then that means that you agree that in that chart that I had up with the four categories of humanity per Sepolo, that the sector then would be deemed as helpless.
Yes, yes,
So Al would be a bandit, and he's used the sector,
yeah,
and as I'm a part of the sector, mean that we are helpless because we enable his types of behavior because we know that he has nothing to give.
yeah, yeah. I guess yeah, we would be as far as the study goes, Dr. Nikki. Yeah, um, we are helpless. We are, and I mean, and look, I don't even want to.
And that's just
As
in
far
that
as
paradigm. We're not talking about helpless as a people. We're just talking about within this context.
what I'm
Right.
going to say within every context, Dr. Nikki, I'll take it there. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I want to say that as far as the numbers for us look right now, and as far as the position of undeniable, unambiguous black people is as it stands, yeah, we're pretty helpless, and we're subject to all kinds of mistreatment and abuse. And of course, that's why you what happened in Los Angeles,
Well,
just
well,
a week or two ago.
well, I was saying this. I was given a place where he slithered in to by by not even using his own, ideology about any situation like Umar or whatever, just to become entertainment at some point. And then we started recognizing that he was putting himself on a higher plane, as if he was
Hmm.
superior or more educated than a lot of us. And what makes
Hmm.
him definitely falls under that last category of stupidity is because everyone knows that when you're against somebody that's is very more intellectual than you are, you're not going to try to dismiss their credentials. You're not going to try to find something wrong with them. And what he uses the fact that he's biracial as some type of superiority, as if, hey, I'm biracial, you're just black.
Hmm.
you know
Right.
I'm biracial, and my thing is this: Al has never been in a black community, has never been in a black space other than this one. And this space is like it's not really that black of a space if you think about it, because we spend most of our time just going back and forth. You got a lot of people that operate under the guise of stupidity, that did not have nothing to gain or lose by having Al on their panel, but had him up there just to go against the grain, just to go against the other people who said, get him
Hmm.
off of there. You can't
Well,
tell me who the
I think they did
USA.
have something to gain, Joe. I think they did. I think that was the whole purpose of bringing on the special weapon or the nuclear weapon. I think that's the. I remember when LMSYT first brought him over, and the whole point was because Al was not a black person, and she thought that could get her over. Now, I understand her logic in doing it. I understand her logic in doing it because having a person who is not black, usually that works when you're trying to talk to a group of black people. That usually gets you over. It usually goes a long way, carries a lot of weight, and things like that. So I can understand her logic in doing it. Was it correct? No, but that's what she was doing. Now, then other people just picked up on that simple ass play. A lot of people who fall in the realm of stupidity just picked up on that play and said, let me run with it too. Did it make a certain amount of logic? Yes. Yes, it did. And we can say it did because of the evidence that we've got right now that this guy is still on panels. Now, DJ Drama was the first person I've heard to really come out. Maybe not the first, but DJ Drama was very vocal in saying, hey, man, we don't want this cat in the sector. We don't need this dude around. I don't even know if Drama was conscious about what he was doing, but I'm going to tell you that that was a very important statement that Drama made when he was talking about that, because it just you're letting in some non-black people, and as we all know, when it comes to undeniable, unambiguous black people and non-black folks, we are very, very welcoming to them, as opposed to our own people, where we kick, scratch, dox, uh, rocks, jocks, cocks, whatever else you want to say, anything that ends with an X. We can do that to black folks all day long, but when it comes to people that aren't us, we seem to have a whole lot of reservation. So I think people were definitely using Al as a Trojan horse, a stalking horse, whatever you want to call it, as a secret weapon here in the sector.
Alan,
But see,
A
I
secret
think
that wasn't a secret.
Alan, did you ever
okay.
read Al's article about Umar Johnson?
No, no, I didn't.
Okay. What killed me about that
Oh,
article?
good.
Good, you didn't miss nothing. You probably will
Okay.
waste your
You
brain
saved
cells.
yourself some mental
Because
anguish.
the weird thing about him was the fact that he used the writing about Umar Johnson to get into this sector, and then later on we started reading his art, his document. This
Hmm.
man quoted, and I kid you not, what content creators were saying about Umar Johnson as if it was fact.
Wow.
He was his whole article was basically a simple opinion piece with a whole bunch of jargon.
Conjecture and supposition.
Well, that's
Yeah.
all he's ever done since he's been here. Everything he says is an opinion piece. I don't know that Al has presented any concrete evidence for anything that he said. Yeah, ever. He's
But see,
just
that was
everything
my
is
argument.
I've heard. Go ahead, Dr. Nikki.
No, I'm saying that was my argument because again, I was vocal the very same day that he
Mm-hmm.
presented on let me see your transcripts platform. And I had asked in the chat, have you read any of his stuff? And he just said it so very cavalier. Oh, I don't read it. I don't read his stuff. And again,
Mm-hmm.
you can't say you know how a man thinks if you've never read any of his ideas.
Well, that goes
Just like
with
what we're talking about right
that
now.
goes. I think that falls into group think. See, here's the thing: when it comes to black folks, undeniable, unambiguous black folks, it's easy for people to just jump on the bandwagon of I don't fuck with black people. It's easy to do that because the whole planet does that. Al Lanier is a type of person who likes to judge what the wind, which way the wind is blowing, and whatever way he thinks is blowing strongest, that's the way he's going to go. I mean, it became so apparent after just so many times of listening to him. He could go on panels, he could get his lunch handed to him or something like that. He'd still come up if he thought that he could still wrangle public opinion. If he thought that whatever content creator, whatever black content creator he was going to had the ears of the people, he felt like, oh, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to go over there. That's all he does. I mean, it's not even a sophisticated trick. It's super
But
easy. All I
what
got to
I
do. Go ahead.
what I noticed is that
But
he
wait,
okay.
Joe, wait a minute before you go in on that. I want to acknowledge HM's point. He says that is critical because Umar's ideas were never a problem. His lack of execution is. Now, again, because of what I do by training, we know, and if you don't know, hopefully you will take note of this, is that when you come up with ideas, the first step is you have a strategic plan. The second part of that is you need to have an execution plan.
Mm-hmm.
Then the third part of that, this just Trinity here, is you got to have an assessment plan so that you can go back and intervene whenever you need to. And with every iteration, you make improvements. So you're right. It's
Right.
not
Yes.
necessarily the ideas of Umar Johnson. It was he did not have an execution plan, nor did he have an assessment plan because he can't even self assess at this point. Because if he does, what it means is that he has to acknowledge all of these places where he fell short, and all the
Right.
places that he's fallen short were criticisms or humbly submitted observations from everybody that he spoke with. And he just refused, absolutely refused to take that criticism.
Mm-hmm.
He absolutely refused. So even in business or even in education, if someone wants to create a new program, not only do they have to go out and do research and come up with a strategic plan, they have to let us know how is this going to fit into what it is going to do, what resources are needed for you to execute this and this, that, and the third, and how are you going to assess this? What are your outcomes? What type of benchmarks do you have? How is this going to help students get jobs and this, that, and the third before anybody and the faculty senate will even vote yay or nay before it goes to the staff and on up to the board of trustees and then before it becomes a reality. So when Al said, when I heard him say, and he was very, as I said, cavalier about, no, I don't have to read all of that. To me, I was like, okay, first of all, this man made it clear that he was half black and half white. So you're already approaching us and approaching this space operating out of a racist paradigm because you think that half of you is better and that half of you that is better than the whole that you are trying to get yourself into, which would be this sector and in talking with us as people. You did not take the time to find out or read your audience or read the room. And then, ever since then, you have been dismissive about everybody else that you have encountered because of the very first interaction you had where somebody did not check your ass on all of the missteps you took in writing that bullshit that you wrote. So when Dr. Nikki Proctor-Walden comes around and says something, what do you want to do? I'm a black woman and I'm an educated black woman. I'm a very educated.
You're an undeniable, unambiguous black woman as well.
Absolutely. So what do
Mhm.
you do as a coping mechanism and that racist ideology that you operate, paradigm that you operate in an environment to where we're the minority, which is in this sector?
Mhm.
The first thing that you do is to dismiss what I have earned that you have not attained
Right.
without doing any research because you think we are not worthy of being researched. You think we're only worthy of hearing what you have to say, as if we don't have anything else to offer. And,
Exactly.
because it was benefiting certain people, I never saw Al as entertainment. He has been disrespectful from
Yes.
day one. And then
Yes.
he says he wants to talk about how what Sam Cooke was a serial murderer. I was like, I wish
Wow.
the fuck you
Man.
would.
Man. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
everything we
Al
hold
didn't
a
need any
high regard,
credentials.
right? But everything we hold a high regard, he has said, shit on that. Let me tell y'all how y'all need to see these people. And you do not get the right to do that, especially when you don't consider yourself to be a part of the circle.
Hey, can I speak to something that Divine Seven just said, man? I want to. We're talking about the quadrant here, and I want to talk about some things. And here's what I want to say. Divine Seven says, I don't believe he's half black because the way he has been talking down to the sector is suspect, unless that side is full of trauma experiences. Hence why he talks like that. Guys, listen to me. I wouldn't give a fuck if Al's mama or daddy looked like me. Al does not look like me, and he's not a black person. Therefore, he has not lived this life. Can we get off that one drop bullshit, please? Because that is
Well,
stupidity.
my thing is this, and I'll take it a little bit deeper than that. Al has
Mhm.
never experienced the black experience to a degree where he can actually fit in a space where he can have a conversation with black people.
So, can
Even
you
though
tell me
we're
why he's never experienced the black experience, Joe?
because
Because he's only experienced a minority experience. Being
right.
But
black,
but but
being
why?
a
But
minority
why
is just
has
a
he only
part of
experienced
that.
that? Why? But he's not experienced the black experience because why? That's my only question. Why has he not experienced the black experience?
Because even though he's non-white, right? He has some type of he's ethnic. He's still outside that realm. He's but he still hasn't experienced anything that we would experience growing up, what we have experienced, even the negative things that we experienced, the culture. I remember one time I heard him say Talib Kweli, and it was hilarious because he couldn't even pronounce his name.
Mm.
And it was telling to me that he's only trying to fit into this space to feel superior. Now, the other thing I noticed that he does, right,
Mm.
is the other thing that he typically does is he typically tries to play into conflicts. So let's say, I have a conflict with somebody, or I'm not feeling that person, or someone in the sector. He will literally come on a panel and spend the whole time talking about that one person, even though the topic has
Mhm.
nothing to do with that.
Mm.
Okay,
He's like,
so
yeah.
go ahead. Well, I'm dying to
Real
jump in.
deal. That's real deal.
Okay, so I want to comment on Alan's question. Why do I believe he has not experienced the black experience? Was that your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have a definition that I operate out of when I'm talking about blackness. And I'm talking about blackness as a noun, not as like an adjective. I'm talking about as a noun, as a thing.
Right.
And I have often told my students that you can't be black by default, meaning you two black parents got together and they produced you. There is a sense of knowledge that comes along with your blackness, meaning you got your history, etc. There is some activism that goes along with that. And then there's this thing called essence. Now, essence is the most difficult to quantify. But if you recall back when we were in high school, there used to be this saying, it's a black thing and you wouldn't understand. So that's what we mean by
T-shirt.
this, right? Right.
Yeah.
So because Al Lanier doesn't have, he may have had some activism. I don't know what the fuck it was, but he does not have the knowledge and he definitely does not have that essence. So that's why he has not experienced that black experience because of that. Now, can you have black people that have more of a white experience? Yeah, they may have more white knowledge than they do black knowledge. Case in point, students will say, I don't think I need to take a class on African American studies because I'm black. Well, yes, you do, because there's a history that goes along with that that help you get to where you are now. And not only that, our bodies are walking histories of our legacy.
Right.
Or the legacy that we're taking advantage of. So this is why Al has not had a black experience. He's had a blackened experience because he is a minority. However, he has not had a black experience because one, he doesn't identify with it, and two, he doesn't know anything. So I said that to say that one of my discussions will be talking about Boyce A. Wade. Damn, what is his name? But anyway, Boykins. Boykins. His idea of what a triple quandary is, which is where he takes the Du Boisian double consciousness and he adds another layer to it. Because at the time that Du Bois wrote the double consciousness or the souls of black folks, there was language that was not in existence to explain black people in America. So, not saying that Du Bois was wrong by far, but what I'm saying is we know that knowledge evolves and people kind of piggyback on to what's already there. So that is Al's problem. And that is the core of why I have issues with him. And then not only that, he's not an academic or an intellectual, because me calling him a smug jackass is not about me saying, Al, you are a smug jackass. What I'm saying is that your article is bullshit and only a smug jackass would write that without reading. It's like you giving me a paper and you haven't cited your sources. I know you don't know this. Where did you get your information from? So if he can't tell me where he got it from, that means you're talking from your ass. And I am not going to let you slander this gentleman with your bullshit.
And you were right for that. And I loved in the first broadcast when you said the thing that really got me. I knew you were an educated woman already. I got that to the pinnacle. My thing was this. I could take a break from operating in stupidity and understand that when you said, let's cite your sources, that's something that's foreign to this sector. But yet I loved it and went back, and I still have daydreams about a place where people can cite their sources and do correct work. And he's never done that. He's never met the standard. And nobody here, even people that were supposedly going to get their PhDs, didn't feel like holding them to the standard because they were into something else.
Exactly.
I'm gonna jump
what he did
off real quick because I gotta
Okay.
I gotta take a little break. If y'all still on, I'm gonna come back, but I gotta take a little break.
All right. But
okay.
All right.
So what he does, because he knows that I had his number, is you allow someone who's operating as a bandit allowed another bandit to make him helpless.
Exactly.
By putting him in a situation to where you are talking about my dissertation And you're only talking about what you read in my acknowledgments. My acknowledgments came from my heart. My dissertation and my research came from my brain. So when you're ready to delve into what my brain put together, which is, my own connections or things that I see connected in a way that no one else has seen, which makes me the expert on that content, then I don't want to hear it. And it is blasphemy for you to compare your writing to my thinking. Not my writing, but my thinking. Because you're not on my level. And I said it.
The last time I wrote like out was in 8th grade. I remember.
I might have written like that in the sixth
Yeah,
grade.
8th, 7th grade, something like that. And I remember the first thing that's when we learned that we had to cite our resources. And it was like the first part of the article was, I mean, I've never seen.
Oh, wait a minute. Thanks for coming, DWHAP. I see your boot, Alpha Male.
But just the fact that he wrote that. But my thing is, a lot of
And then you self-published it. It ain't like you wrote it as a freelance writer and then a newspaper printed it. Man, let me shut up.
exactly. No, I'm just saying, I'm just agreeing with you. The weird thing
You
about
can
him.
self-publish ass and go sit the fuck down.
The weird thing about him is that there's different types of bandits in this kind of environment, in this space, and it's amazing how they typically come together in different like different um in different ways, as if they feed off of each other, in my mind. um I remember when we were kind of going at him, and then we had anti saying, defending him, and then one day he posts something about being biracial. and it was like she let him hang in the dry. It's really weird how bandits are cutthroat to each other. I noticed that. It only can be one.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it only can be one strong bandit. QT said he writes the
QT
local
wasn't letting
HO.
you finish. Yeah, for HOA, that's not journalism. Girl,
And I haven't seen any of his writing since. His writing is very boring, doesn't hold anyone's attention. And the fact that he came up there, and I didn't see the let me see your transcript interview until after the fact, when I said, okay, let me go back and listen to what he was saying. And he sounded more like he was talking about himself.
but wait a minute. Let me go back to a comment that Divine Seven said about others wanted, his foolishness as entertainment. I want to caution people on being a part of situations where there's a whole lot of laughing going on, because oftentimes you don't know if you're laughing with people or people are laughing at you and you're laughing and you don't realize that you are the joke.
Exactly. And I think that's what I came to the conclusion. I remember always coming on the panel to shut him down. And then one day I was just listening to him, and he was just talking on and on and on. And I said to myself, I'm like, this guy is an idiot. This guy thinks he's better than us. This guy does
And
not
then not only,
communicate. Mhm.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, it was going to be along the same line. So, no, by all means, please go
Right.
ahead, my wonderful co host. You are the chat activist.
Right.
I yield to the chat activist.
He was not communicating. I remember I would translate what he was trying to say, and I said, "Well, let me say it in simple terms, as if I'm going to use these superior words that he didn't know the meaning of." And I was like saying to myself, I said, this guy really, really thinks he's smarter than everyone in this room. And so it amazes me that in my mind that you had a bandit, you had he has latched himself onto all the realms of stupidity in my mind. All four realms.
Mhm.
He's latched himself to the helpless. He's latched himself to what was the intellect. And he's
Well,
also
no, that's not a realm of stupidity. That's one of the realms of
humans.
humanness or
Yeah,
humanity.
humanity. Yeah,
So he has attached himself to all three, all of them.
yeah,
Yes, the other two.
right. And then he goes in other sectors and have the same experience. Um, and that's what was telling. If you would go into another sector, no matter what the race was, and people still treat you the same, he was treated I was reading what QT said. He was treated exactly the same. He was treated first they would listen to what he had to say, and then once they started listening to him, they started questioning him, and then this arrogance came out. Like, I don't have to answer your questions. I don't have to, but he would bring himself on the panel and feel compelled to ask you any question he felt like. I don't need to tell you my business, but you know what? I'm going to ask you all your business. I'm going to criticize and critique things that I don't know too much about.
Right.
So,
And so what I was going to add to that is too, you have to remember this idea of what we call the gaze. So are you looking to interrogate who we are, or are you expecting us to admire and adore you and to figure out who you are? So, those were some of the things that also bothered me about his pretentiousness, which is why I called him a smug jackass. Because again, you're not trying to do anything within the group, you're trying to look down on a group, which you remember every time he would go live, his camera, he was always looking down at the audience. That bothered me so badly. Oh my goodness. That bothered me so badly because I said, wait a minute. So not only does this guy feel that Umar is a joke without you even reading his stuff, and then you're going to write on something you have not read, which in my class will always get you an F. You're going to go from panel to panel looking down on people because you think, because I don't know what half of you thought this, that you are talking to people who are uneducated, that you're better. Are you kidding me? And
I
then you come into a predominantly black area as if you are the authority on blackness. This is one
I
of the reasons why I appreciated Spider-Man. I used to call him my hero because every time Spider-Man would go up, he'd be like, man, get your ass up out of here.
he sure
And I was
did.
wondering why others did not do that. Be like, oh, well, here's Al. He's welcome, this, that, and the third. Right, but he doesn't know how to read the room, and he doesn't have a respect for the privilege it is for you to get up and talk. Because we don't have to hear you. So those are some of the things that just bothered me about that. And this is why, when I rediscovered my book, it kind of made me feel a little bit better. And I just eased back off of it. Because I said, either my people are going to ride with me or they're not. But I have to do something to educate because that's what I am by training, in some form of fashion, to let them know why some of these things are serious issues, and that even in on YouTube, even if it's what do you call it, when we're roasting and this, that, and the third, that's still a part of our culture, and there is, there's a code that goes along with that, this, and the third, that he can never, ever, ever get. He doesn't have black knowledge, he doesn't have black activism, and he doesn't have the essence of what it is that makes us the way we are. And he knows it, and he
Yeah,
thinks
he
he's
does.
better than that. And if you are better than that, then take your better ass over there where other better ass people do what the fuck they do.
Exactly. And I think then in the beginning, I felt like, okay, he just, first I was like, okay, he's just on the panel for the content creator to take a break, or, let him talk. And then after a while, you would start seeing people leave. They was like, we're not going to sit here and listen to this man. But what kills me is that you we all have experienced blackness in different ways. I mean, a lot of people don't believe me when I tell them this, but when I was in school, I was telling you this on the phone, that when I was in school, all my teachers were black. And you always hear people say, the first black teacher I ever had was in 7th, 8th grade, 9th grade. Now imagine coming from an environment where blackness is everything. I'm from Chicago, and so everything was black to me.
Founded
Everything
by
I
black.
experienced, right? So everything was black to me, my whole world. And then when I came outside of and moved away, and I came outside of that blackness, and experienced what other blacks experience, I was like, why are you letting these people talk to you this way? We would never let them treat us this way. We were okay sitting at the same tables together. So it's kind of weird to me that you have a lot of people in this sector that engage in a lot of nonsense. But like I said, the bandits typically entertain each other. Bandits typically will have him on their panel. They will read the room, and they know that he irritates them, and so they would create some type of let him say something very inappropriate. But the one thing that stood out for me is that Al does not respect black women, because when he was put on his place by a black man, he shut it down. But when it came to the women, he think he could say whatever he wanted to say. And I always thought
Exactly.
he was an incel.
Exactly. So to kind of wrap this up just a little bit, because I know, Joe's been working all day, and, it's late here on the East Coast. Um, QT1 says his behavior, all white man moves. So let me leave y'all with this thought. How is it that in an environment where we're supposed to have the power, we willingly gave that power to this man to do his bullshit? That's the reason why he can talk to the black women in the sector the way he wanted to, because the black men in the sector didn't do anything to shut that shit down.
Sure didn't.
I promise you this, with all that I will ever be, there will never be a space where I have the power and the authority to shut some stuff down and privilege something over something else, and I don't exercise that. It's the women who had to help some of the men in this sector remember who they are and the legacy that they come from. So, with that being said, Joe, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and end class for today.
Okay.
And we will see you all on Saturday with something new and juicy. But thank you all so very much for coming to the show. Please, any comments that you have, after the show or about something that we talked about, Joe and I will gladly answer those. And if we don't answer them in the chat, we will deal with them at the beginning of the next show whatever that may be. So as for now, I'm looking at Wednesday nights and Saturdays. So that's kind of where I'm gonna keep it, because come January, stuff will be very, very hectic again for me. So I want to make sure that I, start now doing something that I can probably keep up. But thank you all so very much for coming, and good night.
Come on.